Hi everyone, it's Wednesday, it's 5 o'clock, so welcome to my Live at 5. I like to talk about everything super mums, and obviously today's conversation is all about finding reflection, looking at 2024 and then moving into 2025. So it's quite nice to stop sometimes and to think about what you've achieved, and obviously what has gone well and what hasn't. So I'd just like to go through a few things with you today. So when we talk about finding reflection, we're talking about looking backwards to be able to move forwards. I think that is really important, to be able to think about what's gone on, as I said, what's worked. Giving yourself a little bit of clarity is always important, because then you can move forward with intention. So I think that's really important for you. So, as I say, as we move closer to the end, and it really is, if you're watching this on record, I'm sat here today on the 10th of December. I have no idea where this year's gone, but it's just all about now, just reflection, and just your intention for the new year. So it's quite nice, as I say, to sit back and to go, what have I learned this year? That's always a good one, just to think about. It doesn't have to be learnt as in, trained. You might have learnt something that, has happened in your life. So sometimes thinking outside the box in terms of what you've learnt. Another good one that I always think is, what are you proud of? What have you done? And there will be things, I know that some of you may be thinking, I'm not really sure what that is, but absolutely, sometimes just stop and think, what have I done this year that made me proud, that made me feel good about myself? And of course, on the turn of the coin, what challenged you? Again, it's good to stop and think, what happened this year that actually challenged me? And sometimes, we move through life and we just carry on, which is great. But sometimes it's just good to just go, hang on a minute, I'm going to stop, I'm going to take a breath, and I'm going to reflect on what's happened to me this year. Because I think what is important, to step into next year with some clarity, I think it's really good to go, leave last year behind. I'm not saying forget anything. I'm sure you've got some great memories you want to hold on to. But sometimes things in your life are worth parking, and then you move forward. Because to move forward with clarity, you have to park what's happened before. So something else, really, when you're thinking about what you've learned this year, is to think reflection isn't about perfection. And I think people strive always to be the best, and, to be the best version of yourself. But sometimes, as I say, it's not about perfection, it's about growth. So I think if you can find a way to move away from 2024 and move into 2025, it's really good to think about, what growth have you achieved? What have you noticed that's been different? I think, again, sometimes, maybe you learned something about your purpose, because everyone has a purpose, whether it is career related, I couldn't even say that then, career related, or whether it is home life, or whether it's to do with your family, your partner, for example. Sometimes, it might be that your relationship shifted. Sometimes you need to think about what's happened, as I said, to move forward. Maybe something happened that was painful and it taught you something powerful. So again, to move forward, I think it's really important, whatever it looks like for you, to take a second just to acknowledge it. And I think, from my side, It's always great. Before next week, we talk about let's move into the new year. Let's all just stop and reflect. It's so, so important. Just think about, what have you got that you want to release? You know, for example, last year, old news, old expectations. So, you know, you might have had expectations that didn't come to fruition, and you might want to go, right, okay, let's park them. Let's set out a new agenda for 2020, 2026. 2025 now we're leaving. I think I might have said 2024. Anyway, I think you got the gist of it. I think you know what I'm talking about. So again, think about old expectations, think about old versions of ourselves and how the new version of yourself might look. Again, habits that no longer serve us. Again, sometimes habit forming is so good to have, but some habits are hard to stop. So I think sometimes if a habit isn't serving you well, then move on, and get rid of them. It's all about making New Year's resolutions, as we say, but before you can get to that, you have to park last year. Again, think about relationships that perhaps have drained you. Again, they may not just be your relationships at home, they may be relationships at work. So again, it's all about things that you have outgrown, things that don't serve you correctly anymore. It's all about just stopping and just moving forward. When you think, and you've probably heard me say this before, emotions can be draining, whatever they are. So it's great that you've got some good emotions, and they make you feel happy. But if you have an emotion, for example, hate can be an emotion. Someone might have really upset you this year, and you're feeling like a real strong feeling of, you know, hate. I know that's a really strong word, but that may be how you're feeling. But to let it go, I think sometimes is a big weight off your shoulders. So sometimes, not always, of course, an emotion can stay with you forever. I understand that. But sometimes to move into your next year, 2026, sometimes just let go of the things that have drained you in 2025. Think about it a little bit like this. Reflections can create space. So all of that stuff that's going on, I think if you can find a space for maybe some gratitude, some clarity, a bit of a new direction, as I say, sometimes it might be worth doing, as I say, for you to move into the new year with some clarity. It might be worth, if you're listening to this live, or if you're listening to this on record, to maybe journal it. Maybe sit down and just I'm old school. I love a pen and a pad, but maybe just write something down, or if you prefer to do it on a Word document or Quip, or however you like to document things. Sometimes it's nice to just stop and write things down and just get them out to move forward. Something that I tend to do is ChatGPT. I live my life by ChatGPT, and I'm sure many of you do. Sometimes it's nice to maybe put in a couple of things that have happened in ChatGPT and say, this happened this year, how can I do it differently in next year? You'll be surprised the results. So if you haven't tried that already, that might just be a little tip for you. So, you know, thanks for hanging out with me again. It's always nice that people come and join me. But like I say, take a moment to honor your journey. Take the highs with the lows, and obviously everything in between, and think about how you can do things differently. Now, if you want to talk to me about that, then absolutely find me. drop me an email. I'm everywhere, so you won't be able to miss me. But if it's career that you're thinking about pivoting into, then we've got a great deal for Christmas. Think of it as a Christmas present. You may have heard me say about the bundles that we offer in Supermums, but the bundles that we did offer were the foundational knowledge for your Salesforce career is Salesforce admin. And we were giving you a great offer where if you signed up to the Ultimate Admin course and then did consultancy afterwards, you could get 50% off consultancy. I mean, we have many people do that. However, as part of our Christmas present to you, we are offering, if you do any of our courses, along with the instructor-led consultancy course run by Heather, of course, that way you're going to get 50% off consultancy, whatever it is. So if you've got in your mind a different path that you want to follow, if you're already Salesforce admin certified, and you say, right, okay, instead of that, I want to do Agentforce, you could bundle Agentforce up with consultancy. I'm talking the instructor-led consultancy. So if that's of interest to you, ask me any questions, come and find me. As I say, I'm not difficult to find. LinkedIn, Facebook, I'm everywhere. So the actual code that you would use, the coupon code, would be Christmas, Xmas. So it's XMAS, I can't even spell, bundle 25. 25 being the year, but it would give you 50% off. So definitely worth looking at that Christmas bundle. Again, if you want to know that code again, come and find me and I'll be able to let you have it. I will drop it into the chat as well. So if that's of interest to you, let me know. And as I say, at Supermums, we are always here and we're always happy to help. So next week, I'm going to be talking about how you can look at your new start and your new career. But I just thought it was important before we move forward into next year that we reflect on last year. So as always, I hope you found that really useful. And again, you know, you don't have to listen to me, but even if you don't, just stop sometimes and think, what have I done this year? What has made me happy? What has made me proud? And what has made me unhappy as well? And then you can move through confidently into next year. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll see you next week. Take care.